Everybody hates Meghan Markle. Let's talk about it. Meghan Markle was just like a briefcase girl in Deal or No Deal, or she was on Suits, or she had that beautiful lifestyle blog, The Tig. Like, nobody really cared. She was unproblematic and beautiful, and everyone was fine with that. But as soon as she met Prince Harry, and as soon as it was possible that a Black American woman could ascend a British throne, everybody lost their shit. And as the story typically goes, especially white women, they wanted that Black girl away from Buckingham Palace as soon as possible. And yeah, that anger had everything to do with Meghan being Black and her ascending to a role that was historically reserved for white women. They didn't want to see it. And ultimately, the fact that she refused to shrink herself before the British monarchy really pissed people off, right? Like, she maintained her friendships with powerful women like Serena Williams. Meghan used her title to speak loudly on social issues, which, again, people hated. Meghan refused to defer to, like, palace handlers or Prince Charles or Kate Middleton. She was an accomplished woman before she met Prince Harry, and she would continue to be. And the fact that Meghan was accomplished, that she insisted on her own brilliance and importance, really threatened people. And it especially threatened white people, and white women in particular. And as Meghan grew bolder and more self-assured, things ratcheted up. She got so much media scrutiny and so much hate online that Prince Harry literally had to release a statement saying, "Please back off of my girlfriend." The media scrutiny was insane. Remember, straight out of Compton, it focused on her first marriage. It focused on the fact that she was Black. It focused on the fact that her father had weird issues, right? It was nefarious, it was intense, and it had everything to do with the fact that this was a Black American woman entering into a historically white space. According to the press, she was far too ambitious. She had way too much energy. She was a social climber. She didn't defer to the rules of the palace. She was mean to Kate. She was just a brat. That's what they all wanted us to believe. When news broke that like several staff members of Kensington Palace left, right? She was called a mean girl and a bully. And when there were reports that Kate Middleton cried over some tiara snafu, oh my God, we couldn't hear enough of it. This weird, intense, and yes, racist vitriol got so bad that by 2020, Meghan and Prince Harry decided to step back from their royal duties. And it was so bad that in 2021, in an interview with Oprah, Meghan Markle revealed that she had gotten very mentally ill during this period. And what was the media and white woman response to this like really sad piece of news? Well, of course, they called her a diva and self-absorbed. They said she was using the race card, that she was tearing the royal family apart, that they wish she would just go away. But none of this was racist, right? Like, they just didn't like this woman. Everyone obviously blamed Meghan when the couple moved to America, and when the couple released their Netflix docuseries, and when she revealed her own series, and when they had their own podcast. Everyone called her opportunistic and awful and a brat and just like all of these other names. But when you ask these people, why do you actually not like her? They don't have an answer. They obviously can't say that they just don't like her because she's Black, but I fear that might be the reason. Ultimately, Meghan's crime wasn't being difficult, right? It was the audaciousness of a Black American woman to aspire to a role to which white women felt entitled, right? We don't grow up with Black princesses. And the idea that Princess Meghan from LA could ascend the throne made white women crazy. And that's why they don't like her. Meghan was unapologetic and unapologetically Black, and the white world hated her for it. And she was ultimately a threat to them, so they tried to oust her. This is just a classic example of pet to threat, right?
But this is Meghan Markle's sickest stunt yet. This weekend, she decided to invoke the memory of dead Princess Diana in a deliberate attempt to terrorize her long-suffering husband, Prince Harry.
This is the video he's referring to. That's the whole thing. In Sussex takes a video of the scenery passing by as she drives to a Paris Fashion Week fashion show. The British press, they lose their minds. They say she's trying to invoke the memory of Princess Diana's brutal death. Remember when you guys accused her of insulting, disrespecting Princess Diana because she wore a Northwestern sweatshirt? Because decades ago, Princess Diana also wore a Northwestern sweatshirt, completely ignoring the fact that Northwestern is Meghan Sussex's alma mater. School that none of you hateful British twats would ever get into, frankly. This is Dan Wootton, one of the Duchess of Sussex's biggest fans. He has dedicated his entire TikTok to her, his podcast to her. This is embarrassing. You are an embarrassment. Imagine dedicating your life to someone who doesn't even know your name, who is better than you in every way, more attractive, smarter, clearly kinder, more interesting. If I was her, I'd be flattered, probably. And also seeking some kind of order of protection. He's so stupid, just like objectively dumb. Bloody hell, mate. When was the last time you got laid, Dan? It's giving 40-year-old virgin. frankly. This hatred some people have for Meghan Markle, this visceral rage, I think we can now categorize that as a mental disorder. Put that shit in the DSM-5, babe, because you're a kookadoodle-doo. We need a name for this. Is it histrionic Markle disorder? Maybe the Meggies? I don't know. Let's workshop it. What I do know is that in the midst of all of these horrific fires consuming Los Angeles, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, they're up in that bitch, physically handing out food and clothes and not making a spectacle of themselves. And the girls are still mad. Look at them showing off as if they really care. As if Meghan Markle wasn't an LA baby. Quite literally born and raised in Los Angeles. This is her hometown. So of course, she's gonna care if it burns. All of the images that we have of Meghan and Harry volunteering are grainy and from long lens cameras, similar to any celebrity that was out in the streets volunteering, like Jennifer Garner. And yet the comments, when it's Meghan, so different. She called the paps on herself. Wonder how they got that picture. And those are the nice comments. The mean ones? These women are manic. I am not exaggerating when I say these women dream about her at night. That's the first face they see when they wake up in the morning in their mind's eye, and the last one before they go to bed. It's an obsession, guys. It's a darkness. They're consumed.
Now, Squaddies, let's start with this Paris story, because honestly, this is where I had to stop and say, wait, what? Meghan is in Paris. She's traveling in a car. She takes a video. She posts it. And somehow we've gone from Meghan posted a video to accusations that she was deliberately trying to upset or terrorize her own husband because of the route. Come on now, let's slow this thing down. If you don't like the video, fair enough. But there's a massive difference between saying, I don't think Meghan should have posted that, and jumping all the way to Meghan deliberately did this to hurt Harry. That's a serious accusation. So where is the evidence? Where is the proof that Meghan sat there thinking, I know exactly where this road is, and I'm going to use this to upset my husband? Where? Because you can't just invent a motive and then present that motive as fact. That's not criticism, that's mind reading. And this is where I think regular people need to step back from all the royal noise for a second. Imagine your own life. You post a picture, somebody doesn't like it, fine. But then they decide they know exactly what was going through your head when you posted it. Then they write an entire article about your supposed intentions. Then somebody else talks about that article. Then another commentator discusses the commentator. And suddenly your little Instagram post has become a national debate. You'd be sitting there thinking, guys, I literally just posted a video. And that's what makes the treatment of Meghan so exhausting. There seems to be this constant assumption that whenever Meghan does something, there must be some hidden agenda behind it. She can't simply post. She can't simply attend an event. She can't simply wear something. Everything has to become a psychological puzzle. And notice what happens once the negative interpretation is established. People stop asking whether the accusation is actually supported. They start debating the accusation as though it has already been proven. That's the dangerous part, because now Meghan isn't being judged on what she actually said or did. She's being judged on a story somebody else created about why they think she did it. And honestly, Squaddies, that's a completely different thing. Criticism should be based on what somebody actually did, not on a fictional conversation you've created inside their head. That's common sense. And let's be real, if the same level of suspicion were applied to other members of the royal family, we'd never get through the day. Someone posts a photograph, what's their hidden motive? Someone takes a particular route, what's the psychological meaning? Someone wears a certain outfit, what's the message they're sending? Please. Sometimes people just do things. Sometimes a person gets into a car and records a video. Sometimes an outfit is just an outfit. Sometimes a post is just a post. And Meghan deserves that same basic human assumption. What I find especially unfair is how quickly this gets dragged back to Diana. Because Diana's death was tragic, everybody knows that. Harry has lived with that loss his entire life. So when commentators make the leap from a video to an accusation that Meghan is deliberately trying to cause Harry emotional pain, they're not just criticizing Meghan, they're making an incredibly serious claim about the relationship between a husband and wife. And that deserves evidence, not speculation, not sensational headlines, not, well, maybe she meant. No, show us. And if you can't show us, then maybe we should stop pretending we know Meghan's intentions. Because that's the pattern I keep seeing. Meghan becomes the subject, and suddenly the most negative explanation imaginable becomes the preferred explanation. And then people act shocked when Squaddies push back. Well, of course we're going to push back, because there's a huge difference between saying, I don't like what Meghan posted, and saying Meghan deliberately used Diana's death to hurt Harry. Those are not the same claim. One is an opinion, the other requires evidence. So for me, Squaddies, this story says far more about the way Meghan is covered than it does about Meghan herself. Because when a simple video can be transformed into a story about manipulation, cruelty, and psychological harm, you have to ask yourself, are we actually talking about Meghan anymore? Or are we talking about somebody else's version of Meghan? And that's the part I want you to think about. Because Meghan doesn't need to be perfect, but she does deserve to be judged on what she actually does, not on the worst possible motive somebody can imagine. A video is a video, Squaddies. It doesn't automatically come with a secret evil master plan. Look, let's be real for a minute. The tabloids aren't throwing a fit over protocol. They are terrified. Let's lay out what actually happened. An accomplished, educated, gorgeous woman walked into an ancient, rigid system, looked at their dusty playbook and said, yeah, this doesn't work for me. She was smart, articulate, and completely self-made before she ever set foot in a palace, and that scared the living daylights out of the institution and their media mouthpieces. Why? Because the whole setup relies on people playing their assigned roles. You're supposed to fall in line, keep your mouth shut, and let the old guard shine while you take the hit. Meghan pulled up with her own platform, her own money, and zero interest in playing the villain in their soap opera. When she refused to shrink herself down just to make fragile egos comfortable, the media went into total breakdown mode. Here is the street-level breakdown for anyone living in the real world. Ever had a toxic boss or a shady co-worker who tried to dim your shine because your hustle made their laziness look bad? That is the exact dynamic here. When you refuse to be managed, manipulated, or silenced, people who rely on control panic. So what do? They launch a smear campaign. Every move becomes calculated, every sentence gets twisted, and suddenly you're the villain just for existing with your head held high. The UK press spent years hunting for headlines because she wouldn't bend. She packed her bags, moved across the ocean, built her own machine, and kept winning anyway. That is what drives them wild. They wanted a submissive character, and instead, they got an absolute boss who refuses to dim her light. Keep shining, Meghan. The louder they scream, the clearer it is that you won. Look, Squaddies, let's be real about the absolute no-win trap the media has built for Meghan Sussex. If she steps out into the light, she's desperate for attention. If she stays at home, she's completely irrelevant. She launches a project and it flops. See, we told you. It smashes records, the numbers are fake. What does this woman actually have to do? Disappear into the woods and send updates via carrier pigeon? Even then, the headlines would read, Papergate, why is Meghan hiding in the trees? It is a game where the rules are completely rigged. The narrative is written before she even wakes up in the morning. She moves, find the negative spin. She stays quiet, find a negative spin for that. She succeeds, explain why it doesn't count. She stumbles, celebrate it as ultimate proof. Every single one of us knows a hater like this in real life. You could help them move a couch and they'd complain you held the cushion wrong. You say hi, you're being fake. You stay out of their hair, you're being rude. You just want to say, mate, you decided you hated me before I even opened my mouth. And that is the exact energy of the UK tabloid machine. It's not honest criticism anymore. It's an obsessive mission to make every single move fit a pre-packaged villain arc. What drives her critics truly unhinged is that Meghan refused to play dead. She was supposed to leave the UK, fade away, and fail. Instead, she built her own lane, secured her own bag, created her own empire, and kept stepping out looking absolutely flawless. Now the goalposts have to move every single week just to keep up with her success. The funniest part of the whole circus, the people screaming loudest that she's irrelevant, are the exact same ones analysing her outfits frame by frame on cable news. If she doesn't matter, turn off the cameras. Meghan stopped auditioning for their approval, left the trap behind and chose to just live her life out loud. That independence is what they truly can't stand. Keep moving, Meg. Let them stay mad. Here is the reality that completely breaks the brains of the Fleet Street pundit class. Meghan didn't just leave their little sandbox. She built her own empire, and she didn't ask for permission. She isn't waiting around for some ancient palace machine to give her an assigned role or hand her an approved schedule. She's out here securing her own bags, dropping her own projects, securing millions of fans, and running her own business moves. She is living her actual life completely on her own terms, and that is what they truly cannot stomach. Think about the hilarious contradiction in how they talk about her. They want to convince the world that she's completely irrelevant and that nobody cares about her anymore. But if she's so irrelevant, why does every single breath she takes turn into a breaking news banner? She drops a casual clip, and commentators dissect the frame rate like it's the Zapruder film. She steps out in an outfit, and suddenly it's a 45-minute segment on cable news. She puts on a pair of earrings, and people act like she just altered the course of human history. If nobody cares, why are you spending 24/7 obsessing over her moves? Her biggest crime was never about protocol or palace rules. Her crime was being a self-made, independent woman who looked at a toxic environment, said, I can do better on my own, and actually did it. When you refuse to shrink, panic sets in for the control freaks. When they can't control your narrative, their only option is to try and spin every single win into a failure and every normal day into some sneaky calculated scheme. Meghan doesn't have to do anything crazy to make headlines. She literally just has to wake up, exist, and be successful. Keep doing your thing, Meg. The louder they scream, the clearer it is that you've already won. Thanks for watching. I am your host, Miles. Catch you all in the next one. Goodbye.